Before we start, Ella gets our ugly art competitions dates wrong. When you're listening to this, it will be over.
Hello and welcome back to the Women's Workshop podcast. I'm Ella, the founder of the Women's Workshop, and this is my co-host and partner, Immi.
Hi, I'm Immi and I am doing the podcast with Ella. I'm editing videos and I'm just being Ella's organisational brain.
Which I need because I am a chaotic mess. So last week we had an amazing podcast interview with Mystic Illustrations. Sasha, thank you so much for coming on. It was amazing to meet you. And we have a special treat coming up later. But first things first, let's get some housekeeping out the way. So our ugly art competition is still going on. You've got 4 days left if you want to enter. And the standard is high. It is way up.
This goes out on Tuesday, so you might not have 4 days left.
Okay, so you have about 3 days left then, so you better hurry up. But they are, honestly, the entries we've seen are incredible, and they're in so many different mediums. We've got collage, we've got sculpture, we've got illustration, digital art. So yeah, if anyone does want to enter, all you have to do is post your entry and tag me at the women's_workshop, Immi at Immi Midi, and Quirky Buns at Quirky Buns. So we hope to see your entries soon. Other things we've got going on are the website launch on the 7th of April next week, I believe.
Yes, next Wednesday.
So we have almost got all of
actually, as you're listening to this, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry, I was so confused then. I was like, what? Because we obviously record earlier than we release the podcast, so that makes sense. So also we'll be interviewing Bipolar Abdul next week, who is a friend of Immi. So do you want to say a little bit about her?
Yeah, Bipolar Abdul is a fantastic, I believe the term is faux queen. I fucking hate that term. She's a drag queen from Doncaster. She's absolutely phenomenal. I love her to bits. She's done some music video work for me and she's just great. I love her.
So we'll be looking forward to interviewing her next week. Also, we just wanted to say a massive thank you for our 900 followers on Instagram.
Woo!
Thank you so much for everyone who has supported the page and engaged. And we've met the most incredible artists. We actually hosted our first networking event last Friday, which was absolutely incredible. We were meant to be on for an hour and ended up staying for 4 hours, drinking and talking about feminism, politics, art, and putting the world to rights.
It was a really, really good night. It was one of the best nights I've had for ages.
And especially during lockdown, I think we need it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like we were friends instantly. Like, in our networking event, towards the end of it, we went to some like more personal places and everybody felt comfortable sharing it, and that was such a wonderful thing.
It just felt like we've known each other for years, and like we were all saying like we want to like meet up and go on a night out, and as soon as everything's open again, we're definitely gonna meet in person because I really want to meet all of you amazing people. So if you do want to come along to a networking event, when I say networking, it is extremely informal. It's just chatting shit with a bunch of cool female artists. So our next one will be on the 9th of April, which is next Friday. And we'll release the time a bit later, but it's usually after 7 o'clock in the evening. You can hop on and hop off whenever you like. So if you've only got 10 minutes, hop on, have a cup of tea, say hi. If you've got an hour, hop on. If you've got 5 hours, hop on. We'll probably be there for quite some time.
And if you're shy, you don't even need to have your camera on. You don't even need to have your microphone on. You can just be there and speak as and when you feel you need to. We are trying to be as safe and inclusive for everybody. So please, just even if you're just there to listen to our stories and have a laugh at our expense in some cases, just come along.
Yeah, no, it'll be really good fun. And like, I think it can be quite sort of intimidating coming on and socializing with loads of people you don't know, especially at the moment when we've been like deprived of socializing for so long. So as Immi said, if you do just want to come on, leave your camera off, leave your microphone off and just like listen to us chatting shit, then feel free. Also, I just want to say to all the amazing followers who are supporting us, I've had so many requests recently asking for people to have their work featured on the page, which is absolutely amazing, and we're so happy to meet so many incredible artists. The only thing we do ask is that you interact and engage with our page and also support the artists who are on there. I was talking about this a bit the other day. I think the whole point of the community is that we support each other. So it's not just about coming on the page, having your work shared, but actually meeting other artists, connecting with other artists, supporting them, and they'll support you. Speaking of, I've just bought some incredible, it was payday today, so I bought some incredible prints from a couple of the artists who we've met on our networking event. And I'm so excited because we hosted a Draw This in Your Style competition with at Soy Mistake, Jackie, who we'll be interviewing later tonight, spoiler alert. And she drew this incredible picture of like a frog king, very sort of like fairy tale inspired. So I've bought that print from the Draw This in Your Style competition. And I've also bought a pair of earrings from Quirky Buns, who's co-hosting our current Ugly Art competition. So thank you to both of you for being so involved and really helping us like host competitions and have, you know, engagement and activity going on the page. So thanks to both you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so like heartwarming to see that you are putting aside your work that you get paid for to give somebody something for free to help build a community, and genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
And also, I just want to say, if anyone does want to co-host any future competitions with us, we'll basically release a topic for a competition, and anyone who's interested can message us. We ask our co-hosts to share the competition and also to give away a piece of their work as the prize. But as you're giving it away for free, I will buy something off you once you've sent out, you know, your pair of earrings, your print, your sculpture, whatever it is, so that you're not out of pocket and so that we're supporting you.
Yeah, and also in similar regard, if you want to get featured on this podcast, drop one of us a message and we will get you in our lineup, definitely.
So I think we are just about ready to get on with the interview with Jackie at Soy Mistake on Instagram.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
We'll dive straight in.
Trigger warning, we talk about some quite heavy stuff including death.
Hi, Jackie. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be part of this community and being interviewed by you two beautiful people. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. So like first things first, how are you doing? How are you coping during lockdown?
Well, I honestly don't know. I took a plane last year to this country and I never knew that my life will flip upside down. Good side, I've been making a lot of art and I'm really happy about that. Really excited to get out of this, of course, like everyone. But I feel like it has been a time of groundness, like introspective. And I think hopefully most of us have taken that time for that, that everything is paused. Yeah. So, I mean, at least for me, it gave me that like break from normal routine, go to work Monday to Friday and just take that deep breath and be like, all right, where do I go from here? But yeah, it's all positive.
It's given everybody a lot of time with their self and to get to know themselves properly outside of any other social context, and I feel like that's been like the biggest positive for it.
I think it's quite nice to spend some time by yourself sometimes, and like being surrounded by people is lovely and it's lovely to socialize and meet new people, but I think sometimes just having that time like to yourself and to sort of reflect and just be you. Like I'm not really that used to socializing now. Like I love socializing, but I also really look forward to like having some time by myself just to like do things I really enjoy or listen to music or like just like sit and think about things without sounding like a complete hippie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I will say that maybe my case was a little bit different. I remember I arrived here and from America and everything, like I didn't know anyone. And being like I worked at a bar and it's everything customer service and seeing people to be completely isolated. And yeah, I didn't know anyone besides my brother and this beautiful 8-year-old girl that I take care of sometimes. But yeah, it's honestly, it's not been a easy time.
No.
But I've learned a lot. And also, being by myself, there was for a long time, being by yourself can be a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But trying to listen to these thoughts and like trying to learn about yourself. I think that's the most important part. And you learn who you're surrounded with. I feel like when we were all, when life was normal, right? We're surrounded by all of these people, not actually valuing who we were surrounded with.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone's just in very different situations in lockdown. Like, I'm quite lucky because I just live with my parents, but we all get on really well, and like me and my family are really close, so it's been really lovely. But I think in terms of like all being in the same boat, I feel like we're more all in the same ocean, but in very different boats. Like, some people are sailing around on yachts and some people are like on a paddleboard.
Right, so first proper question of the interview. Tell us a bit about you and how you got your start in art.
Well, I was born in America, as you can tell, but I'm actually Mexican, or half Mexican, half British. My mother was an oil painter. Back in the days, such an old school, her parents didn't let her be an artist. She had to be a dentist, get married. So unfortunately for her, she never pursued that until actually recently. And my dad actually painted watercolor. So since I was a kid, painting was always involved in my life. My mom never bought me coloring books or such thing. She always like drew for me and I had to color in. At the age of 16, I was very involved in art. I hated math, but I was really good at geometry. Then as life passed on, I turned 18 and I was very confused because of all this pressure thing most of us go through of like, you need to get a career, you need, to be someone. Like, what is be someone? So with $20 in my pocket, I flew to America and I said, I'm gonna be an artist. And yeah, I started painting, I started drawing. It was hard being 18, a bartender, working long shifts. So I took a break for 6 months and I went back to Mexico. And I met this artist, really known artist actually in the south of Mexico called Ariel. And he became my mentor. He taught me so many things, but it was not like classes. It was like me chilling, drinking my beer, let's paint. And it made me view painting as not something that you learn to do, and it's more as of a lifestyle. And he taught me that I was an artist the whole time. And from that, after 6 months, I went back to America and I was like, okay, I think I want to be an artist. I was in a gallery for 2 years in Cambridge called Out of the Blue Gallery. Then after that, I always had this part of me that always said like, I should have gone to college. So that's how I could. I enrolled myself in university in art school, and I basically threw my money to the trash. So that was really hard. After that, I got into the art community. I got to meet more artists. I would normally I used to paint only on acrylic canvas. And then I got myself an iPad and I got myself more involved in the digital world. So now I'm doing mostly digital. Think that it's amazing that there's so many things you can do. There's the pros and cons of digital work. That's what we do.
That's so cool. You've got such a cool story, genuinely. I could listen to you talk for hours.
You've got a very soothing voice as well. I feel like when you're a famous artist, you're gonna have like the coolest bio and the coolest backstory and the coolest influences. Speaking of, where do you think you've produced your best artwork? Like Mexico, America, here? And like, why?
I wouldn't say that is where exactly geographically, but where I was mentally and emotionally. I would say one of the best pieces I created actually was during a really bad depression I had. And I learned that I used all the energy I could to paint because I couldn't focus. I was such a mess back then. I couldn't focus on eating. I couldn't focus on, taking a bath. But painting was the only thing that I could feel I was good at. I could feel like, not even good at, but like just focus on one thing. Just putting paint on the right spot. And that for me became a meditative thing. Also coming here to England. This year I produced a lot. I was a little bit anxious of getting into the Instagram world. I was like, fuck that. But I got to meet amazing people. I got to meet you guys.
And we got to meet you. So it was a win-win for all of us.
Yeah, I got to meet other artists and also be inspired by other artists. So that was really good. So yeah, I feel like I think I worked my best when, I don't know how to explain this. I worked my best when I challenge myself to it. When I go through a challenge in my life and I don't let that destroy me or put me down, that's when I work my best. Yeah.
Like you work your best when you're escaping, like when there's something real going on and you escape and you have like a means of concentration because you find concentrating on other things so difficult. That's really, really quite moving.
I feel like because I've seen myself let down, and it's not a pretty place, I think, for anyone, right? So if you use all that energy, and it's something not that, I can't, sometimes I wake up and of course I don't want to do it, but I have to force myself to do it. I have to force myself to do the first line. I have to force myself to get up and just do sometimes circles. And I surprise myself of things that I come up with.
I think sometimes things in our lives unintentionally translate into artwork. Like I found with a lot of art I created like throughout university and A-levels, it was just topics I was interested in. So I looked at like mental health and like quite dark themes. I was going through this mental health problem at the time, and I was like unintentionally creating art that was very obviously saying that, but I wasn't meaning to. It was just topics I was interested in, and I think it was something that resonated with me, and probably some sort of internalized sort of anger and distress as well that sometimes comes out without it meaning to. Have you found that, or do you think you intentionally sort of put your emotions and your life into your work?
I think even unintentionally, if you don't want to do something, your self-conscious is always speaking. How come some people are interested in butterflies, some people are interested in news, some people are interested, and I painted a variety of stuff. It could be dark stuff, it could be happy stuff. I have intentionally worked on projects, but there's always my style and my intention in it, per se. Because, for example, someone could do the same theme painting. For example, we're all gonna draw, a woman, and somebody could draw an old woman, so we can draw a younger woman, so we can draw a naked woman. So I feel that even every individual, that even if we don't have the intention of making something dark, there is your self-conscious truth, like why you chose that color, why you chose that palette, why you chose thick lines,
Yeah, you're so wise. I was just gonna say, like, whenever you speak, you're so like, I don't know, I just feel like you've got it so much more together than the rest of us.
Oh no, well, I'm trying. Thank you. I appreciate that. I picture myself, when you say that, I picture myself as the owl of Winnie the Pooh.
I think it'd be Tigger because I'm just manically chaotic all of the time.
Eeyore because I'm depressed.
Exactly.
Well, I think they said that all the Winnie the Pooh characters reflect like different mental health things, I think. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I've read about that. Yes, I have read about that. I don't know if it's true or not. I've read even though about even like cartoons like the Rugrats, or even SpongeBob, and like it's, you know, if you think of how crazy it is how they used to make cartoons back in the days for our, at least speaking for us, I imagine we're around the same age, you know, 90s babies. Uh, the characters, and they were so with human defects and human traits. It was amazing.
I think like we probably put a lot of like our own modern interpretation of things as well. Like for example, like the Winnie the Pooh thing. I don't know if that was the original intention of the person who made it, but I think we are a bit more open now about things like mental health and I don't know, women's problems or like whatever it is. I think we are getting to being more open about it and like trying to break down the stigma of it. So I think it's partially to do with the fact that we're now looking back at it and realizing things that we didn't notice before.
It's all very death of the author. The author intent doesn't matter because you're putting your own intent on what matters to you inside of this work.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we went a bit off topic, but that does happen because we love to go off on our tangents. So I just wanted to ask you, what medium do you work in, and how would you describe your artistic style?
Well, currently, my iPad broke, as I've commented before. It got ran over, but it's being repaired. But I currently work only in digital. However, my main medium is acrylic. I love acrylic. There is so much you can do with acrylic. You can do the texture like if it was oil. You can water it down like if it was watercolor. There's so many things you can do with it. And I love, old school painting. However, working digital saves you time. You can correct errors. You don't need to like start over. And it's also portable. And also you can work with different brushes. It's just amazing being updated in this new art style that is digital. And there's so much work that can come with it. Think that, I moved here. I can't buy in canvas and paints and all of this. Digital work is actually on the cheap side. I will always say that my paintings are nostalgic. Is my nostalgia of my childhood. Is just the nostalgic feeling of things. That nostalgic feeling when I was a kid, when I watched TV shows. That nostalgic feeling of women, the portraits that, faces that I saw when I was younger, or the feeling I do different themes, or I have sometimes these that I do like collections of 3. They're all have in common that I want to say I have a style, or I have, I just do one thing. Art should be evolving and changing. And we are humans that we change day to day. So the only thing I think that all of them have in common is just that feeling, nostalgia.
That's really cool. I do get the nostalgia thing especially from the frog that you did for the competition. It's so like it's like storybook. It's something I expect to see in like the kids' era of a theme park, a big statue of this frog, and it is the most adorable thing.
I love frogs though. One of my dreams, hopefully one day, will be to be able to illustrate a children's book. Haven't had the book yet, but it's something that I would love to do. And those stories that we used to have when we were kids and stuff, But yeah, the frog is one of my favorites. I was so happy to do that project with you guys.
Oh, it was so amazing to see everyone's interpretations of it as well. Like, especially the winner, Becca. So that's Becca Latham, if you want to look at her on Instagram. I just loved the way she broke up the entire original image and made it into that like vibrant wallpaper. I just so wasn't expecting to see it. I think that's why it was my favorite, but all of the entries were incredible.
Yeah, all of the entries were really amazing. But the thing I liked about Becca is that she did something different. I'm not saying the other ones were different styles, but she decomposed my frog.
Yeah.
It made it something, I was expecting to see, the frog and sitting on the books, but no, she decomposed it and made it something a little bit more abstract, in a pattern. And I was like, yes, of course.
I would so have that as like a wallpaper in my room.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want my birthday presents wrapped up in it.
Oh my God, yeah, that's such a good idea. Just really quickly, I just wanted to return to that theme of nostalgia you were talking about. I think that's such a beautiful way to look at art, because I feel like nostalgia is in a way lovely, but also quite melancholic, because I don't know, it's like I was talking about this with someone the other day about what you lose like when you grow up, like all the sort of childlike wonder and like the questions. And like I was talking about how I was babysitting for this kid recently, and she like came straight up to me and she was like, "Oh my God, Ella, like can we chop up oranges and juice them?" And I was like, yeah, sure. So we started doing it, and then she was like, right, what I think we should do is we should make this potion. So we had to juice all these oranges, chop up jelly babies into these tiny little like squares, put them into this bowl of orange juice, and then hang candy canes like all off from around the sides. And I don't know, it's just that like the sort of the randomness and the like the questioning, the curiosity, the imagination. Like I think we do try to hang on to it when we're older, but I think you do lose it a bit because it's stamped out by like being logical, like living in the real world. And I think it's so nice to return to like that kind of concept of being a child.
We become adults the day that we stop being curious, the day that we stop wondering, outs and abouts. When you're a kid, you're like, oh my God, this is a caterpillar, right? And you're so fascinated by this caterpillar. Or you see this leaf and you're discovering the world. But when you become adult, you already know all these things to survive. You already how to cook, you shouldn't touch fire, you know you're gonna burn yourself, you should shower. So we stop pushing ourselves to discover around the world, like around us. But theme and nostalgia for me is not necessarily good memories as a kid, because sometimes we have been periods of times that we've been in toxic places or depressive situations or even bad things that we as humans miss that sometimes. And it could be, an ex-boyfriend that was super toxic, or a bad habit we had, or, certain situations that happen to us that are kind of like bad for us, but there's this little thing inside us that we kind of like just want to peek. And that's like a little nostalgia. And it's kind of like weird, but so nostalgia can be represented, again, how you said, is how we remember things that we lost, and not necessarily sometimes is good.
Yeah, one of my most pressing like memories, which is there in my head from my childhood, is when you're a kid and you have the "what happens when you die" thoughts really late at night, and my dad just like, "I'm not answering your question, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to lie with you until you go to sleep." And I just remember him just lying there and making sure that I was okay, and it's really there, and it's like, but it's like both a negative and a positive nostalgia moment, and it's just every time I go to sleep and the existentialism comes in, I just think of my dad now, and it's like such a comforting thing.
That's so
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I love hearing stories like that of things that sometimes we don't say it out loud, but we can trick our brains to again, nostalgic moments, we can bring them and experience them just by thinking about them, just by remembering moments from our childhood or even yesterday, and we can revive them. So for my paintings, sometimes I like to paint them. I want to try to recreate that thought, like Immi said, like she said she felt, when sometimes she's in bed, she thinks about that moment that brought calmness. And I mean, that's beautiful. For me, it's kind of like the same, trying to bring that memory that is over here, right? It's over here. I see it, but I don't see it. And I wish maybe somebody could also see it.
I think there's something really weird about, like, I call them night terrors. When you get, always at night, I get these really like weird existential thoughts about, like, I don't know if it's because your mind relaxes or like you just have time completely by yourself, like in the dark with your eyes closed, but I always have these thoughts like, oh my god, like we're all gonna die one day, like, oh my god, how is that okay? We shouldn't all die, let's just live forever. And I just literally go down this spiral, and I always feel fine in the morning, but sometimes at night I do have those thoughts, and I wonder why it only happens when you're in like that state at nighttime, because that's most of the time it's happened for me.
We have so many distractions day to day, and sometimes we do think about it like during daytime, but there's so much going on that we don't listen to that little voice, right? There's so much going on. You got work, you got to do this. So when you're sitting in bed and you're having those thoughts, like during the day, you don't have the time to actually rationalize all these questions you have. And when you're alone, they all come so dark and so like, all right, why were we here? All right, I'm gonna die. It's actually, that is really funny. I always ask this question to people. If you were going to die, if you had the opportunity to choose, it's kind of a dark question, okay?
That's okay, we love dark.
If you had, that determines what kind of person you're. I'm kidding, no. If you were going to determine, like, I don't believe in God, but if God was up there and says, okay, you can choose how you're going to die, what will you choose?
Choking on laughter.
That is actually really good. Never thought of that before.
Yeah, I want to go out with a smile on my face.
Oh, that's such a hard question. I don't know. I've always said, and I don't actually want to die this way, but I've always said, like, I want to die by like a shark attack or something, only because like the idea of like oblivion, just the idea of people like forgetting like your existence, your personality, your character. And I've always thought going out like with a bang, like something crazy, completely unrealistic that would happen, just stuck with me. Like there's this graveyard at the top of this hill in near London. It's called Box Hill, and at the top of this hill there's this man who decided that he wanted to be buried upside down, so like vertically, like head down, and it says it on his gravestone and everything, and like everyone knows that man because he's buried upside down. And it's not so much the desire for fame, but more like almost a need, like to not want to be forgotten and like to have your life.
It's a legacy. Yeah.
So yeah. So something big like that, shark, crocodile, but then I wouldn't really want to endure that sort of pain. So maybe something a bit less extreme than that.
I always ask this question because honestly, again, I have no idea. But there's only one thing that I'm pretty sure is that I want to be alive until the last minute. Like I hear these stories of like people like, oh, I want to die in my sleep. And I'm like, I want to be conscious of until the last second I'm on this earth. Because nobody knows what the heck is going to happen after, right? So I love hearing these stories of, I mean, it's an odd question, right? Like off-putting. But yeah, I mean, of course, most people can't decide how they're going to die, right? But if you had, I mean, I jokingly say like, yeah, I want to be killed and by a serial killer, and I want them to make a documentary of me and be on Netflix. That will be my legacy. But no, it's interesting how different people. I've heard so many versions of it. You get to know a little bit more about people, asking how they're gonna die, how they want to die.
Yeah.
We're so terrified of sort of aging in a way. I feel like a lot of the reasons that we kind of want to like stay young and stay like fit and healthy, I mean, to live in the moment, but also because aging is like a reminder in a way of like your own mortality. You know, if you get a gray hair, if you get wrinkles or whatever, like marks of aging, I think they're beautiful, but I think it reminds you that like you've lived those years, like those years are now gone and you're heading there slowly.
I think deep inside, when people, I mean, I'm 20, I'm going to be 27, I'm not old, right? I think but even though at 27, almost 27, I do think about, holy shit, like, by this age, I should have done this, right? I feel like people, when they grow and they have this fear, it's not about things that they did, that they have these crises, but things they haven't done. So I think it's like the same goes when we age and we have these wrinkles, and like, yes, it's a reminder of like how life is so short, and we think about not the things we've done, but like things that we haven't done yet. So it's like, yeah, it's a reminder, but I think also, again, it's beautiful. It's their marks, their battle scars, battle marks. I want to grow old with long white hair, wrinkles, stretch marks, and I'm going to be hella cool and sexy.
Jackie, I really just want like a small you to just have in my pocket and just tell me stories. Genuinely.
Like a Jamie cricket, but wiser.
If I was in school and you were my teacher, you would be my favorite teacher. Because you're so fucking cool.
Oh, you guys are really cool too. I wish we could go out for drinks, honestly.
Oh, we will. We 100% will one day.
Right. Should we get back into the questions?
Yeah, existential crisis, like moving on from.
I'm so sorry, we went dark.
No, I love having dark conversations like that though. I think it's so interesting to hear how other people perceive things, like really big questions and really big topics that you've thought about and you've internalized, and like how other people are viewing them. So yeah, thank you for introducing us to that. Right, so venturing back to art, with the style you're doing now, do you think, or what medium or whatever, like what do you want to venture into? Is there any interests you have in artistic styles or ways of making that you're interested in going into?
Yes, size matters. I've been wanting of course digital is different, but I've been wanting to get more into mural art, expand a little bit on that, and also collab with different artists, but not like another illustrators, but collab with a writer, collab with musicians, collab with different art mediums. And also, I am really interested in making tables and mosaics. Something that I think it's really cool. If someday I have my house, I want it to be full of tiles and mosaics. And if you guys have ever been to Barcelona and seen the art of Gaudí in the Casa Batlló, and you see in the streets these mosaics, it's just so beautiful, and it's art that is for everyone.
I've never been to Barcelona, but I really want to go. Like the architecture there, like I just love like crazy, beautiful, wacky architecture. And I feel like Barcelona, from the pictures anyway, I haven't actually been, but it just looks insane but amazing.
They all look like seashells to me. Some of the buildings in Barcelona, big. And I also, my ex-girlfriend was Russian, so I just like some Russian architecture. Oh, so pretty.
Oh my God, that I will love to go to Moscow. It seems gorgeous. I want to go everywhere. It's really beautiful to see the styles of art from different countries and regions and cultures. But the art I mean, I'm a sucker for street art. I love graffiti. I love murals. I love street art. I love cities that the government supports artists. Hey, you're making your city beautiful, man. It's it's so much culture and supporting artists.
Yeah, where I am in Leeds at the minute, there's lots of legalized street arts, and they're really big on capital of culture, so they've been pouring loads of money into the art scene up here.
That is something that, I mean, I know that England is very old country, so I don't know how the laws work when it comes to street art and painting on walls, because I know they're really old buildings. Some of them are protected. That is something that is kind of a little bit scary of doing, like a piece of art and being, somebody vandalizes it. But sorry for the public. That's what you get, right? But mostly I don't know the regulations of what is,
I don't think graffiti art is allowed at all, is it? Unless it's commissioned. I don't think it is.
There are graffiti parks which people can take, and the only thing is with graffiti parks is your piece of work could exist for all of like an hour before somebody comes and paints over your work.
Well, it was a good hour that it lived, right?
Yeah. It's like drawing something in the sand and then it gets washed away.
Yeah.
I think I really love seeing pieces of art where you don't expect to see them. Like, I know this sounds a bit boring, but I'm quite interested in seeing art in like quite corporate, like soulless places. Like, for example, like a bank or something, if an artist got commissioned to like create a piece for a bank, I just think bringing something like magical and creative into a space that's generally considered to be quite like boring and like kind of unwelcoming is quite a nice thing to do.
Jackie, you're from Mexico. Do you feel like being a Mexican artist affected your work when you were in the States at all? Because I know that there are some tensions, shall we say?
Not really. I have the fortune. I wouldn't say fortune, but I do have an advantage that I am a white passing Latina. That some of people from my country do not have, unfortunately. However, that still does affect me because, they're my people. They had this, I wouldn't say in the art world, but a day-to-day basis, yeah. And I try to use my voice to help those people, and even though they're not Latinos, right? So with my white privilege, the only thing I can do is use my voice or all the tools I can have to give them a voice, have them heard, and make justice whenever I can.
That's really cool.
That's going to be printed on a t-shirt someday. That's going to be your quote.
I can see it now. Like one of your frogs, but dress it up as like a superhero or something, and just make the justice that I want to see written above it.
Oh, that would be beautiful, though.
I'm already sold into that.
Yeah.
I would buy it. Do you think being a woman has affected the way people perceive your art in any way, or have you experienced any kind of discrimination or anything because you're a woman in the arts world, or not particularly?
Not precisely in the States, but in Mexico, yes. Being taken seriously to do a piece of artwork, that they didn't know I was a woman at that moment. It was for I was doing these paintings for this restaurant, and as soon as they knew I was a woman, they thought, even though they did like my art, they thought I couldn't get the message across because it was gonna be cute. Yeah, it was,
What a bunch stuff.
I want to say discrimination of art, but I have like, I have my art with men has been a way of, they think because I do art, I'm a kinky girl. All right. They think because I do art, I have my nipples pierced. They think because I do art, I'm a, they have these stereotypes of artists, women that, I mean, and I'm sure they are. There are artist women that probably have their nipples pierced. There are women that are probably bi. There are women, there are maybe freaking sex. But a lot of men that I've met, when they know I'm an artist, they have these expectations that I am going to behave a certain way, or I am in a certain way. I think that's has happened to me in the States, has happened to me in Mexico. Because I'm a woman artist.
Because they think because you're an artist, you're a bit of a wild child.
Yeah.
It's like they've created a caricature of what you are almost based on that profession. Like they've created this whole over the top one idea of what like a female artist can be. I think it's very like, the thing I hate most is being patronized. And I think kind of the idea of like something you're doing is like cute, or like it belittles it a bit in a way. Like, I mean, I like to be cute sometimes, but like when you're doing something that you're passionate about and that you care about, I'd be quite offended if someone called it cute. I would be like, it's not fucking cute, it's mind blowing.
I guess like through the years, I mean, unfortunately, you gotta deal with some comments like that. I'm not gonna say like, mostly on Instagram and things like that. Like, you get those. We were talking about this when we had our video call with the other ladies. When I was in my gallery and you show your art to the public, it's just like a mass-produced piece. It's just like, oh yeah, I like it. There's no like in-depth in it. That is actually, for me, it's not that it's hurtful, but it's useless. Again, you cannot expect that for people that maybe don't know the process, people that don't know, they're not artists. But it is a bit frustrating that I have paintings that took me, when I was doing, there was a period of time that I was doing epoxy resin art, and that shit took me a month sometimes to finish one piece. Coat over coat, using gas mask because of the fumes. To just have that, reaction to it. It is a bit frustrating, but it's not something I can control. It's not something I can do about it. Unfortunately, there has been people that are interested in my process. But going back to the subject of being a woman artist, I have a good example of being a woman artist. I remember when I basically came out as a woman artist to my family, it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking for my uncles, and was heartbreaking that I was going to be this hippie bohemian girl, and like, again, stereotypes. But all these stigmas, I ended up being completely different. But I do find it kind of weird in the dating life mostly, or when you meet people, and we are like, sometimes artists, women, they're sexualized to the point that they think we are these like muses, that are like, dude, I'm just a regular ass person, just like you.
I feel like it's a lot of a lot of this comes from mass media and the women written by men issue. So, like, obviously, that's probably one of the problems. Do you have any like ideas of the causes of this, or and any ways to fix it?
That's an interesting question. I never thought of that. I wouldn't say that I am actively trying to change it, and maybe I should. Unfortunately, I have had, thoughts, and it's a terrible thought saying that boys will be boys. It's terrible to think that, but sometimes it's fucking tiring. It's tiring of being like, stop, or trying to change these stigmas. It's not that I don't want to change. Of course I want to change it, but it's frustrating that I have to. It's frustrating to have to call out. It's frustrating to be like, meet people that have good intentions and then, being sexualized to that point. It sucks. Again, I feel like being in communities with more women, like the Women's Workshop, brings out the voice of different artists out there, and it feels less lonely and feels like more strength to put your voice out there. How to explain this?
You don't feel like you're shouting into the wind. You feel like
Exactly.
there's.
I mean, it's not like, of course, I would like, to stand up on a mic and change the world, And unfortunately, some people are not going to listen, some people are.
Yeah.
And I'm there to speak for those people that want to listen.
I was just going to say, I think it's really important to have the support to feel like you can speak up, because I think because kind of sexism and racism and so many issues are deeply ingrained into society, sometimes I feel like I personally sometimes just go along with it. Like, I try to speak when I can, and I try to stand up for people when I can, and I try to promote values that I believe in. But for example, if someone is patronizing to me, or if someone says something that I feel belittles me or makes me feel less than, I tend not to confront them about it, because I feel like it's easier to just exist and get on with what I'm doing rather than confront that. But I feel like being in communities like this and meeting other people and talking about it does give me the confidence to be able to speak up about it.
I will speak out about racism. I will speak about sexism. I will speak out anytime. I'll speak out to defend women. I'll speak out to defend different communities. I'll speak out to defend gay rights. But in my day-to-day basis, if they are willing to do the work of trying to understand and be like, hey, educate me, of course, come on, let's have a talk. Why not? I'll tell you my experiences. But also now, day-to-day, dude, for people that are willingly ignorant to not know about the issues, is because they're choosing to.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll have a talk anytime, but there's no excuse of saying like, I come from this society, my family raised me this way.
That's what I meant before. I don't know if I articulated it very well, because I think I want people to have liberal beliefs and have beliefs that are inclusive and like diversified, and understanding where different people come from and why people are treated a certain way and why it needs to change. I think more on a day-to-day basis, as you said about picking your battles, I think sometimes I find it draining to battle with people. Like, I prefer having conversations with people about it and trying to convey where I'm coming from, rather than like, if it's sort of like a passing comment from someone you're not going to see and you don't really agree with the comment, I just don't have the energy to like fight it. I'm just like, I'll just let that one go. And
my housemate recently came out as non-binary to me, and they were like, they saw somebody that they knew in school and they used the wrong pronouns for him, and they were like, how do you like get through that? How do you like do that? And I was like, is it somebody that you care about or that you're going to see again? No, forget about it. They're going to forget about you as quickly as you forget about that interaction. It doesn't affect you. But if it's someone like a parent a co-worker, somebody that you care about, that's when you need to start making the battles. If it's somebody that you need to educate so your life is easier, that's when you need to start educating people. And if they don't want to hear it, then you know that it's your opportunity to cut them out as much as you don't want to.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you're totally right. That is a really good way to put it. And that becomes, I think, in a lot of issues that they're passing nowadays. Um, I'm there to support. I'm there to speak up, and I'm also there to let other people speak up. But yeah, there's some things that are day to day, and like, you know, things that like comments or I'm not gonna let that insignificant thing, you know, because that's how insignificant they are for me. Ruin my day, ruin, you know, what I had planned. I think there's ways to make bigger changes and grab that energy, or at least for me, is art, educating myself, donations, being part of a bigger change. I think that is better than fighting someone that I barely know and will ruin my day. Of course, don't take me wrong. There's a fine line of where to step up.
I think it's just so sad that so many things that are very normalized seem insignificant to us because we're used to it. But actually, when you step back and like look at the bigger picture, it's just all very fucked up. Like even like misogyny, the patriarchy, blah 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 blah, blah. Like it's just literally everywhere. Like even things like catcalling and like groping and the way girls are treated and spoken to, it just really angers me because I'm like, how are we still fucking here after like hundreds of years of trying to learn and evolve and grow, and yet there's so many little things, but they're not little things, they're just things that we're normalized to, they're not actually little.
Yeah, it's basically society made us be normal with it and and go with it. And I'm like, how the internet has exploded in a really good way, calling out so many celebrities, calling out so many people and things that we think are normal and has been normal for so many years. And that's why I think like internet is a really, like, even to me, like things that I thought that were no, like, wait a second, why am I accepting this? You know, and I didn't even question it, you know, and then you question it, you're like, we silence ourselves.
So if we just wrap up this interview with what you've got coming up next, have you got anything planned for the future? Have you got any competitions coming up or ideas you're working on? What does the future look like for you at the moment?
Well, right now, art-wise, the near future is getting my iPad repaired, of course. Honestly, I'm really excited for art markets. And this summer, I'm getting a chance fortunately, nothing is set on paper, right? Hopefully soon I will be able to sign my contract and stay, I'm just staying a year here in England. And I'm really excited to get to know in person art markets, the art community, art galleries, art events. That's what I'm most excited about. And I want to dedicate to that. Get to know, I mean, hopefully I'll be moving close to Bristol. So get to know what's the art community in England. Yeah.
We'll have to travel down and see you and do like a big meetup, or go out, go to art galleries, do loads of cute artsy things, have loads of these really deep, dark, wonderful conversations.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of our interview with Jackie is our prestigious Hall of Fame. We currently have 2 entries in the Hall of Fame. It's Imogen Heap and B Illustrates. So Jackie, who do you want to put in the Women's Workshop Hall of Fame?
Patti Smith. Patti Smith is forever going to be my idol. It was one of the first books I ever bought from her, was Just Kids. again, I said that my art is basically nostalgia, and this woman, with her writing and even her poems and music, carries this sense of nostalgia and how she developed herself moving to New York and becoming this powerful icon, punk icon that she is nowadays.
Yeah, so cool.
I absolutely adore her. She's such a badass. Like, I just adore her. Like, I just want to be her. She's iconic.
Yeah,
No, she is. She is, yeah.
She's certainly one of those people that when you hear her name, you're like, fuck yeah. You have no choice but to just bask in her glory.
And nowadays that she is such an amazing icon, people say like I feel like she knew exactly what she was doing back in the days. She used to say everything distracted me, but mostly all myself. And that is something that I carry on from that book. Everything is so distracting, but mostly myself. She is my idol.
You certainly have, like, both of you have a similar presence where you just want to sit and listen to them talk.
I feel flattered. Thanks.
Do you think she's inspired your artwork in any way, or the themes within your artwork?
How she wrote about her love story, it was beautifully portrayed. Like the way that she romanticized even grabbing a bus to go into New York and, you know, having all those memories. For me, that little touch for me is how I inspire and I see my paintings.
Yeah, that's so incredible. I want to listen to you talk every day. You should have your own podcast, Jackie.
I'll send you my phone number. Give me a call anytime.
You're completely outshining us. Like, no one's going to listen to this afterwards. They're going to be like, oh my God, where can I find her podcast? But it's so lovely to listen to you talk. Like, you have so many incredible ideas, and like, I just love your approach to life. Like, it does make me feel internally calmer about everything.
I try to view life that way. Listen to me. I'm a very hyperactive person and I can be nuts. But I try to remind myself and slow myself down sometimes and be like, wait a second. Slow down a little bit.
I feel like you're the perfect middle ground between me and Ella. Whereas I'm super organized and cold and like get everything done on this time, and Ella's just like
I'm your earth child. I'm your baby.
Yeah, we need you. Honestly, that's why like Immi and I started working together though, because I was doing it by myself to begin with, but I'm very disorganized. I'm a chaotic creative, like just very like lots of ideas, but no logistics or planning. Just like, I want to do this. Oh my God, let's meet this person. Like, I do have like a very hyperactive mind, and I think Immi, I just needed her to ground.
I came in and crushed your dreams and introduced you to spreadsheets.
It's balance, man. Sometimes we need people, and it's awesome that you guys found that beautiful balance.
Any more artists that you'd like to mention that you really, really love the work of, or have inspired part of your aesthetic at all?
Honestly, all the artists that I've got to know through your workshop, because before, you know, balancing that thing of like putting your art there and getting to know different artists. I got to know a lot of artists thanks to you guys. I really love Bite My Cheesecake. I really love Asia. I think her name Asia.
Piano Wiki on Instagram, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Asha. Sorry, Asha, if I'm being to say her wrong.
Bite My Cheesecake is Abigail.
Abigail. Okay. And seeing all these different artists, this girl that does pots. Sorry, I'm really bad with names, but I can describe them. The poster art they're making. Also the photographer that was also on the network.
Zoe.
There's also a really good friend of mine. Her name is Gabriella. She is an amazing photographer. We actually became friends mostly because of her photography. We became friends in Boston. She's a photographer for music shows and somebody that I admire deeply. She just follows her small artists around the world, for the shows and capture these beautiful moments.
So I think we should move on to our big question of the evening, or the big topic that you've chosen to discuss. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the topic you've chosen and why, and just a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I give it a lot of thought, and then I waited to maybe think of something else, but this is what I thought the first time. It was the starving artist. What do we have to be starving artists, or do you have to even starve, or how should you market your art to leave? Do we have to be bohemians, right? I think it was like an interesting concept because a lot of people think that, you know, being an artist, you will starve, or to be a true artist, you will be poor, right? But I don't think so. I don't think we have to starve to be an artist. I can maybe price my piece of art for $2,000 if I wanted to, but it is really hard doing that. Like for me, and I think for a lot of artists, like sometimes you don't even want to put a price on it. It's your creation, it's your baby, and sometimes we put our art so cheap because it's really not about the money. We're like, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. Oh, and money is fucking important. Unfortunately, art supplies, we have to eat, we have to pay rent. But sometimes it's so hard to put ourselves that value, right? We're like, we don't want to be like super extra and like, you know, oh, I'm like pretentious.
I love the fact you brought this up because this is an argument I have with one of my friends all the time about the musical Rent, and about how every single one of the people in every single character in the musical Rent is one of the most insufferable people because they're so pretentious and like, oh, I have to be a true artist. I have to be starving. I have to be struggling because art is struggle and I am poetic. But no, art is what's inside you, and art is like how you how you express your creativity. Your social stature has nothing to do with your art. You can bring it into your artwork, but at the end of the day, your social stature and like what happens in your personal life can be completely different to your art as well as interconnected.
Absolutely. That's something that is a stigma that a lot of people, because they think about the era of Dali and Pablo Picasso, Hemingway, that they were these struggling artists, some of them alcoholics, you know, some of them depressed, and that you have to struggle financially, emotionally, to be a successful artist. And no, people have this stigma that you basically have to starve yourself to be this, to be remembered, or to be this legend. And no, art should not be a struggle and not necessarily have a struggle. There's beautiful art that comes out of depression. There's beautiful art that also comes through happiness. Or at least for my parents, when I tell them that I want it, this was back in the days. Nowadays, my mom is my biggest fan. I think her most worry was the struggle. She thought I was going to struggle. Again, nowadays, I don't fully live out of being an artist. And I do not mind having a side job, working as something completely different if I have time to paint.
I think the concept's been romanticized a lot, like the idea of like the struggling artist and the idea of sort of having to suffer to be creative in a way. But I think if you want to be an artist and that's your passion, that's your dream, and it's what you want to do, you should be able to make a living from it. You should be able to live, because to be able to live, you need money, you need a certain amount of income. And I think when you're putting so much time and energy and passion into something that you love, money is almost a way of being valued for it. And I think it's a way of being appreciated and recognized, and all that time and energy that you've spent is being rewarded. And I think it should be rewarded, because if you think of any job, like working in a bar, working in an office, whatever, you are giving your time and your energy and your emotional energy, your physical energy into doing something, and that's why you get paid. You get paid for that time and that energy. And I think if you're pouring it into art, it should be treated in the same way, but I don't think it is currently as much as it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we all have that moments of struggle of like, I mean, at least I did, that we get caught up like when I was bartending back in the States, and like, where there was a time that I stopped doing art because it was like, well, this is giving me so much money, but it's actually not rewarding to my soul. Seeing like one of the things that I mostly hate is when people question the pricing of my art. Maybe if it's too cheap, people will think that it's garbage, or people think that I'm being super extra because I'm charging it, the actual price that it should have cost. And that is something that sometimes it's a little bit hard to have people be like, hey, can you give this a little bit cheaper? Or sometimes, you get those questions of like, well, my art doesn't cost £5. It's not something that you can buy at a dollar shop.
Yeah.
And only you can value your work and put worth on your work, because you're the only person who knows what has gone into that. Every single piece of art you create is completely different. Something different has gone into every piece.
Absolutely.
I feel like as well, for some artists, if you work out the actual time that they spent on a piece, I'll use myself as an example. I've just released an EP. I probably spent a week on each song, and it's £5, and so that's what, £1 a song. That's less than minimum wage for the amount of time I spent on it. So in a lot of cases, the people that are complaining are actually getting a sweet deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. If I compare at least my digital work and how like I'm putting on and the amount of hours that it took me to make, and I'm selling for £10-15. Like again, that thing of like the starving artist, like a part of me, yes, money is very valuable, and yes, I'll get those 10 visual £10, right? But yes, money is rewarding, but it's also rewarding to see the movement of like, okay, I got sold one, we got to make another one, right? It's all like that flow of constant making more and 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 more, creating and innovating. I think that is my biggest reward. And not get me wrong, and if you really want that piece, you will pay anything for it. But for me, sometimes I put it for £10-15. Yeah, maybe I'll have a revenue of £2. I don't know. But seeing that movement makes you create more. It makes your portfolio bigger. Makes you be more experienced.
And it makes you happier.
And it makes you happier. Yeah.
Money is important, but it's not the bottom line for artists. The bottom line is the art.
I think just one more thing I was going to say about that is I think the way art is perceived in general and the way artists are perceived is not the same as how someone would perceive like a scientist or a mathematician or something that's a bit more traditional. Not that those things aren't important, because they are, but I think if you tell someone like you studied art, like for example, every time I tell someone like I did an art degree and I got a first in my art degree, people are always a bit underwhelmed. People will be like, oh, what do you do? And oh, right, yeah, okay, you're an artist. I don't know, like that sort of, that's not.
It's the old joke of, you know what I say to aspiring actors? I'll have a grande latte, please. And it's so disrespectful. It is funny, but it is so disrespectful.
I think it's just some kind of academia and intelligence is viewed in a very one-way sort of thinking. You know, it's like you're clever if you like science and maths and I don't know, you're really good at academically writing, but if you're a visual thinker, if you're a visual creator, it's not valued in the same way. I mean, they used to call art, they still do sometimes, like a soft subject, as in it's like, it's easy. And it's like, oh my God, the struggles I have gone through with art in terms of like creating, and it takes so much energy to create something, to come up with a concept, to come up with an idea, to implement it. It doesn't go the way you wanted it to go. You have to redo it, you have to start again.
Then you have to write about it and pick apart your own work. And after you've spent so long looking at something, you can't find strength sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. we know our worth, then I think it needs to be recognized more widely, and the arts need to be supported and appreciated. So on that note, I think that we'll go into our outro. So firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for like having this lovely conversation with us. I feel like I've learned so much from you, and I just find you so interesting, and oh yeah, I cannot compliment you enough, but thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Oh no, thank you. I am so happy. This is really true amazing what you guys are doing. It's amazing, this community that you guys started. And yeah, I'm really blessed. I'm really happy to share a little bit about my life.
Yeah, genuinely. I've said it so many times, but whenever you speak, I'm just compelled to do nothing but listen to you. The entire world shuts down, and you're so incredible, Jackie.
Oh, thank you, Immi. You guys are really beautiful. Thank you for giving me a platform to speak. Yeah.
Of course, you deserve a platform to speak. And speaking of, what platforms are you on, and where can people find you to come and support you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Soy Mistake. That basically means I am a mistake. It's kind of like a funny word thing. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I also have an Etsy shop on the same as SOY Mistake. So yeah, hopefully I'll be launching my website. Still debating if I should do that or not. But yeah, that's where you can go, and please follow me. I'll follow you back. Thanks.
In terms of us, so you can find us on Instagram at the women's_workshop, and also on Twitter. What's our Twitter account?
Women's Work _shop is our Twitter. You can you're listening to this podcast, so you found it somewhere, but we have it podcast uploaded to both Spotify and YouTube, and Google Pods is coming soon.
And Immi, do you want to promote where people can find you?
Sure, yeah. You can find me at Immi Midi on like all the social medias, apart from Facebook, because
no one uses
Facebook. Yeah. So, without anything else, we will see you next week with Bipolar Abdul. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Goodbye.